So there's a new Emerald Fennel movie in theaters right now, and we know what that means. The internet is losing its mind, film Twitter is on fire, and people are comparing it to the death of the universe, culture, and humanity as we know it. And yes, we are about to enter that conversation ourselves. Welcome back to MovieArcher.com. My name is Nico, and yes, we are here to talk about Wuthering Heights, directed by Emerald Fennel, based on the famous novel from Emily Bronte. Now, I'm very aware that chances are if you're here, you've already seen the movie and you're looking for me to either agree with you or you're going to get very angry at the take I give here. There are a lot of opinions on this movie. I saw the movie a bit later than everyone, so I'm playing catch up here, but I actually really like that I'm coming at it, seeing a lot of different opinions and being able to go in and try to be objective as possible. So I'm really going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to not say a lot of what other people have said. But yeah, I'm probably going to end up saying what a lot of people are saying. Do want to acknowledge I'm not someone who's read the book, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about how good of an adaptation to the text that it is. I'm really just going to talk about the movie start to finish. There are a few things about the book that I know that I will comment on. I feel like it's hard to talk about this movie and not comment on those things, but that'll be the extent of it. To begin, I really do want to give praise to Emerald Fennel as an artist. I do think she is very talented, especially when it comes to visuals and the ability to assemble a team of the crafts. This movie is gorgeous to look at. The production design is outstanding, and so many times during this movie I was just blown away at the images on the screen. She is also very ambitious. I could tell she wants to provoke, she wants to shock audiences, she wants to make you feel weird, she wants to challenge you, and she wants to tell these stories that are very unique to her specific imagination. And I'll say this, in her 3 films she does take some massive swings, and while they don't all land for me, and when it comes to this movie I think there's some massive misses, I do want to give her credit for swinging for the fences. And yet it pains me to say, as her scope and ambition has increased, I think her quality has regressed. Wuthering Heights is what I would describe as being one of the most maddening films I've seen in recent memory. I say that because this movie is a visual feast. It is an incredible cinematic experience on the big screen from a sensory standpoint, and the story has a lot of promise on paper. The ideas, the bare bones of this thing are very interesting to me. The problem is, it just doesn't do anything. Let's stay on my big positives here. This movie is gorgeous to look at. I do not know if there will be a film this year that looks better than this, and we're only in February. Her visual language, her work with the cinematographer, the way they capture the landscape in this movie, the framing of characters in doorways, the wide shots, colors just pop, the production design, the sets are so pristine, the detail is absolutely gorgeous. There's also this fog in the movie that keeps following our characters, and it adds just a layer of sort of dread and grit. The mood of this thing is excellent. Fennel is just allergic to making bad looking movies. It's not possible for her. It doesn't exist in her reality. There were so many times during this movie where I was just sitting there going, wow, wow, wow again. It is impossible to not be swept up and immersed by the visual language of this movie. It is really atmospheric in that way. It is very engrossing. There's some really impressive flashes from the director's chair. I think the way this movie opens is incredible. It's very stirring. I think the way this movie ends, the way they bring back some moments and the visuals to kind of bring this thing home are very strong, and several moments throughout of ideas sprinkled in and flashes of style where I'm like, okay, I'm into it. I like this. I'm waiting. Okay, that kind of was interesting. But that's really it. Outside of the crafts and a few moments, this movie is, you'll never hear me say this about a movie. I hate this critique, but man, this movie is just it's really just boring. And I'm not even saying boring in the traditional sense, like my attention wasn't captured. I was pretty much glued to the screen this whole time. I have to thank the visuals for that, but not even boring in that I'm not entertained. It was just, there was nothing to hold on to. The characters are all flat and very hollow, and none of them are fully realized by the end of the movie to make any of their decisions feel believable or real. This thing was kind of sold as being this dark, twisted, romantic tale, this kind of kinky, hypersexual thing. And Fennel really likes to be provocative, especially with some of those scenes in Saltburn, the things that Barry Keoghan is doing in that movie. And I mean, this movie doesn't even come close to the shock value or the feeling that Saltburn gave me. And I'm not even the biggest fan of that movie. It really tries to put these characters in moments that feel like sexy or kinky or like really dominant. And it's just like, it always falls flat and never quite goes farther. I'm not saying I need nudity. I'm not saying I need these crazy sex scenes. It's just, but I thought in this tale, especially with the movie with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, I thought we would be getting things that would have people talking after the movie, that would be blowing up the internet, blowing up the timeline, like something like Heated Rivalry or Twinless last year. And it's just not happening. And this movie doesn't even really say anything. There are these ideas sprinkled in about, class division and abuse and generational trauma over time, revenge, and this toxic love of where two people can't have each other. So it leads to these two spiraling self-destructive sets of behaviors. And it's just, none of it ever is that fleshed out. None of it is ever that impactful. And by the end of the movie, I didn't really care about anything or anyone. Probably brings me to my biggest criticism of the movie is I have a film I'm watching with Margot Robbie or Jacob Elordi, and I'm walking out of this movie really disliking them. It's crazy. My brain's going a whole bunch of different ways. I don't want to quite say they were miscast. Maybe it was the performances. Maybe it was the material. Maybe it was a combination of all of it. But we do some time jump, and these characters are supposed to be certain ages, and the way they're playing it, Margot is like very childish at times, and as her character matures, the performance kind of evens out. Elordi's just brooding the whole time. It kind of becomes a little cringe and kind of a parody. He kind of just like is always like lurking around. He's kind of doing like a Frankenstein thing, but he's not looking like Frankenstein, so he just looks kind of weird. And there are moments together, there's some scenes they set up to be very like sexy or hot, but they just end up being kind of cringe. And Emerald also brings back this like motif of like fingers and like egg yolk or food, and the sound design to make it sound sloshy, and like how like food could be arousing, but it's just I don't know, it was boring. It was nothing. I'm like, I've seen this before. You're trying to shock me and it's not working. You're trying to move me somewhere and it's just not working. I'll say Alison Oliver runs away with this movie. A lot of people are saying that, but she's the best performance in the movie because she's campy at first. She brings a lot of humor, she brings a lot of fun, and then as the movie goes on, you start to feel bad for her, and her character is actually one that is allowed to progress and make some of her own choices that actually feel believable for what she's doing, but for what the world, like the rules of the world are. And so by the end of it, I was really into her character, but then it ends in a place where it's like an unfulfilling ending for her too. It doesn't really go to a place that feels satisfying, but at least she goes somewhere. Let's bring in some of the book stuff. In the book, the character of Heathcliff, played by Jacob Elordi, is a person of color, and that kind of plays into this way of like he's being treated like a pet and he's abused. And Catherine, played by Margot Robbie, they have this interesting relationship, and that plays into the dynamic and it carries over time. Jacob Elordi's a white man, like, so like that just is not present in this movie, and that's why the behaviors between them, it feels like by the end of the movie they try to make it this sexual dominant thing, but we don't spend enough time with them as kids or young adults where we even establish that type of connection between them. So it does kind of feel forced and it does feel very empty. There's other people of color in this movie who play different roles that do get some very harsh and unfair treatment, and the characterizations are a little suspect in places. And when I think about that switch from the book to the Elordi change and then their change, not reading it but knowing basically what the story is about and how much deeper the book goes, I'll be honest, Emerald, I don't know what we're doing here. I know I'm dumping on it a lot. I think there's a lot of people who are going to like this movie. I think if you're a fan of these two actors, maybe they'll do enough for you. The crafts are so stunning. Like I said, it's hard for me to even think about this movie in a negative light because it looks so good. But when it comes down to the story and the emotional connection I want when I engage with the story, especially one about love. Even if it's a dark, twisted love, I at least want to feel some yearning or some sadness for these characters. But no, by the end of the movie, I did not care. I just wanted it to stop. And actually, the last thing I want to say is the music by Charlie XCX. The songs are fun. I listened to them separately from the movie, and there's actually some meaning that I could see is in the music, but its use in the movie, I thought it took me out of the movie entirely. I think there's a risk when you try to blend the period piece and drama. She kind of does that with the costumes here too. And I think the blending of period piece and drama actually did not work at all. And there were several moments where I was distracted, like I am not actually in this story right now. Some of the crafts get me there, but then some of the interpersonal character moments, I'm like, yeah, we're just not here. So is it a bad movie? No, it's hard for me to say it's a bad movie because it is so technically impressive. And like I said, I don't know if you'll find a better looking movie this year. I mean that's high praise, but I still don't think the movie's particularly good. Do I hate it? No. Do I like it? It's hard for me to say I like it. I'm kind of in this weird state of indifference, but leaning towards negative. But if you love this movie, all the power to you. I wanted to love it. I saw it with my girlfriend for Valentine's Day. It was the last activity on Valentine's Day, so believe me, I wanted it to be a home run for us, and she liked it a little more than me, but yeah, we both were kind of like, all right, well, at least we saw it and can talk about it. You know, that counts for something. I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 10. That's as high as I could go. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it is of the few movies I've seen this year. I've only seen like 3. It is the weakest one. And yeah, I don't think I'll be revisiting this anytime soon. The next movie that Emerald Fennell makes, I hope she has a different screenwriter. I hope she works with a writing partner or she decides to direct somebody else's script, because that's where the magic, I think, will happen for her. Would love to know what you thought of Wuthering Heights. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you agree with me? Just let me know. I would love to talk about it. And please, if you have not yet done so, please go support moviearcher.com. Follow me on YouTube, TikTok, subscribe. You know what to do. And I cannot wait to hang out with you all again very, very soon.